On Wednesday night, Russia launched its largest drone attack on Ukraine since the beginning of the war, bombarding the country with more than 700 drones and a dozen missiles. That attack came a day after Trump said he was very unhappy with Putin during a cabinet meeting. It is just the latest sign of deteriorating relations between the two leaders as Trump is outwardly losing patience with Putin. Trump is now considering additional sanctions on Moscow and has promised to make a major statement on Russia. Joining me now is Alexander Gabuyev, director of the Carnegie Russia-Eurasia Center. Alexander, welcome. What do you make of this extraordinary drone attack? It seems to be coming at a time when Trump is urging restraint and caution. Is Putin openly defying Trump?
I think the impression in the Kremlin is that you need to stay on the good side of President Trump, massage his ego, praise him, and tell how great he is, how grateful you as Russia are for his attempts to end this conflict on terms acceptable to Russia, and also how much this war is Biden's fault. At the same time, so far, Russians have seen a lot of bark from the American side, but no bite. Mr. Trump has not demonstrated ability or will to push Russia into peace negotiations and arrive to terms of peace acceptable to both the United States and Ukraine. With that, Mr. Putin believes that he can have his way and he can push and pursue his war aims and arrive at peace on his conditions, which means subjugation of Ukraine, breaking the line that connects Ukraine's self-defense effort with the Western military intelligence machine and defense industrial complex, and leaving rump state of Ukraine on trajectory of potential failure and definitely at the Kremlin's mercy going forward.
So his war goals, it seems to me, are to have a Ukraine that is a rump state, and because it is permanently under the threat of Russian invasion, it's going to be a basket case, right? Nobody will invest in a country where they worry about a Russian invasion. That's his goal.
I absolutely agree with you. That's his goal. And for that, cutting this lifeline that connects Ukrainian self-defense effort, its army, its intelligence machine, its defense production, to the West, where a lot of critical intelligence that helps Ukrainians to protect their skies and their cities and inflict a lot of damage on the Russian occupiers is coming from the US and from the West, where a lot of material that Ukraine needs, artillery shells, drones, air defense systems, come from the West, particularly from the United States. So that needs to be cut. And that's exactly the point that Trump and his team were not ready to concede to Vladimir Putin. So he wants to get this from the battlefield. And for now, his generals are telling him that the war is trending into positive direction for the Russians, that despite the colossal losses that Ukrainians were able to inflict on the Russian invaders, in the war of attrition, the bigger party, the Russians, will have an advantage over Ukraine, and that probably Ukrainian self-defense effort will run its course by beginning of this September or fall. And that's where the Russians really want to push hard on the battlefield.
It feels to me like what Putin worries about is military pressure from the West, military arms to Ukraine, for him, a military defeat on the battlefield. He's not that worried about additional sanctions because the main sanction would be a sanction on Russian oil. And if anything were done on that front, oil would go to $150, $200 a barrel. The Western economies will go into recession. He knows that. So the thing he worries about is military aid, and Trump is simply not providing that, which means he's in a sweet spot right now.
I agree with you. I don't think that the Russians believe that the economic pressure toolkit is full of new shining objects that can really deliver a desirable effect on Russia. And indeed, his primary concern is the battlefield, where the West is unlikely to provide Ukraine with tools to reconquer all of the occupied territories, including Crimea. But the West is definitely able to help Ukraine to stay their ground, create a wall and a boundary that will really lead the Russians to realization that it's not worth it, that they will be losing tens of thousands of troops, but will not gain ground. So this is possible, like a genuine stalemate on Ukrainian terms, but the West needs to really roll up the sleeves and do a lot of heavy lifting, particularly with the US. And Putin's hope is that Trump is just absolutely not fit for this purpose.
Alexander Gabuyev, sobering thoughts, but very intelligent ones. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Farid.